Detachment, or upekkha in Pali, is one of the foundational principles of Buddhist thought and practice. But contrary to popular misunderstanding, detachment in Buddhism is not about cold indifference or emotional numbness. It is, instead, a serene equanimity, an inner spaciousness that allows us to experience life without clinging or aversion. At its heart, detachment is about freedom, the ability to move through life with peace and clarity, unbound by our desires, fears, and compulsions. In Buddhist teachings, detachment is not an end in itself, but a vital step on the path toward enlightenment. It helps loosen the chains of suffering caused by our attachments to things that are temporary, unstable, and ultimately beyond our control. To detach is to recognize the fleeting nature of all phenomena, our thoughts, our emotions, our possessions, even our identities. This recognition allows us to release our grip and stop confusing impermanent things with lasting happiness. Rather than advocating withdrawal from life, Buddhism encourages a deep engagement with the present moment, just without the need to grasp or control it. Detachment, in this sense, opens us to a purer kind of joy, one not dependent on circumstances but arising from the stillness within. It is an invitation to walk through the world with open hands, receptive and compassionate, yet untouched by the waves of craving and fear. Desire lies at the very center of the Buddhist diagnosis of human suffering. The second noble truth teaches that the origin of suffering, dukkha, is attachment. More specifically, our clinging to desire, tanha, the thirst for things to be a certain way. We crave pleasures, possessions, recognition, security, and even permanence in a world that is, by nature, impermanent and ever-changing. When we don't get what we want, we suffer. When we do get what we want, we cling to it, and suffer again when it inevitably changes or disappears. This endless cycle of craving and disappointment is what keeps the wheel of samsara turning. According to the Buddha, liberation comes not from satisfying all our desires, but from uprooting the compulsive craving itself. That's where detachment begins to shine, not as a cold denial of desire, but as a warm understanding that desire, left unchecked, binds us to suffering. Yet, Buddhism doesn't condemn desire in all forms. It distinguishes between wholesome desires, like the desire to awaken or help others, and unwholesome cravings rooted in ego, greed, or fear. Detachment helps us see this difference. It enables us to pursue life's activities with clarity and intention, without being ruled by them. When we're not obsessively seeking satisfaction in fleeting things, we become more grounded, less reactive, and ultimately more at peace. Detachment, then, is not the absence of desire. It's freedom from being enslaved by it. The Buddhist path is often described as the middle way, a path of balance that avoids the extremes of indulgence and self-denial. This concept is crucial when understanding detachment. It's not about rejecting the world or punishing oneself by living in deprivation. Rather, detachment invites us to walk through life with balance, fully present, fully engaged, but not entangled. The Buddha himself modeled this path. Before his enlightenment, he lived both in luxury and in severe asceticism, and he discovered that neither brought true peace. The middle way emerged from this realization, that freedom comes not from avoiding life's experiences, but from engaging with them without clinging. Detachment, then, is a posture of deep inner balance. It means neither grasping at pleasure nor pushing away pain, but allowing both to arise and pass like waves on the surface of the ocean. In this sense, detachment doesn't require giving up your job, your relationships, or your passions. What it asks is that we approach them without ownership or expectation. You can love deeply without clinging. You can work hard without being possessed by ambition. You can enjoy beauty without fearing its loss. This balanced engagement allows us to meet life with grace, responding wisely rather than reacting blindly. True detachment is active, not passive. It's not disengagement, it's freedom through balance. When you live from this space, the highs and lows of life don't shake you so easily. You stay calm and unshaken, like the calm at the heart of a storm. Letting go doesn't mean pushing things away. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of detachment. Many people think that to detach is to suppress emotions, avoid intimacy, or disconnect from the richness of life. But in Buddhism, detachment is not a rejection, it's a release. It means we allow things to come and go without gripping them tightly. We feel, we experience, and then we let be. Think of holding water in your hands. Clench your fists and it slips through your fingers. Cup your hands gently and it rests there. Detachment is like that gentle cupping, allowing life to flow through us without needing to own or control it. It asks us to witness our emotions, not to deny them. When sadness arises, we feel it fully, but we don't become it. When joy visits, we savor it, but we don't cling. This practice creates space, an inner spaciousness where freedom lives. Letting go is an act of love, not avoidance. It honors the impermanent nature of all things. We don't push people or experiences away, but we stop demanding they last forever or fit our expectations. This shift changes everything. Anger becomes less consuming. Loss becomes more bearable. Even pleasure becomes more beautiful, because we no longer fear its passing. In this way, detachment opens the door to presence. We no longer live in resistance to what is. Instead, we soften into it, trusting that everything we need is already here, and that all things, when held lightly, reveal their truth. Mindfulness is the heart of Buddhist practice, and it is through mindfulness that detachment becomes possible. Mindfulness means being fully aware of the present moment, what you are feeling, thinking, sensing, without judgment, without clinging, and without resistance. It's a kind of spacious, compassionate attention that allows you to observe the flow of experience without getting swept away by it. When we are mindful, we notice our cravings as they arise. We become aware of the subtle pull toward pleasure and the push against discomfort. Instead of reacting impulsively, we pause. In that pause, there is power. We see the craving, name it, feel it in the body, and let it go. This repeated practice is what slowly builds detachment. It's not about cutting ourselves off from life. It's about no longer being caught in it. Mindfulness doesn't dull our emotions. It refines our awareness of them. You begin to see thoughts not as truths but as passing clouds. You see how sensations change, how moods rise and fall. The more you observe, the more you realize how little you actually control, and how freeing that realization is. Detachment blooms from this insight. The more we witness, the less we cling. With mindfulness, we stop feeding the endless cycle of reactivity. We become calmer, less reactive, more compassionate. We respond to life instead of being driven by it. And slowly, we begin to rest in a deeper sense of peace, not because the world has changed, but because our relationship to it has. One of the most transformative insights in Buddhism is the principle of impermanence, Anicca. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. All experiences, emotions, relationships, and even our identities are in a constant state of flux. This truth can be unsettling at first, especially if we've spent our lives trying to create security and permanence in a world that offers neither. But once we truly see impermanence, detachment begins to make deep, intuitive sense. We suffer because we try to hold on to what cannot be held. We want our joy to last, our loved ones to stay, our success to endure. But the moment we grasp at anything, we invite suffering, because change is inevitable. The more we try to control life, the more exhausted and anxious we become. Detachment arises not from rejecting change, but from understanding it. When we see that all things are impermanent, we stop clinging. We stop resisting. We begin to ride the wave rather than fight the tide. This isn't resignation, it's wisdom. It's the insight that the only true peace comes from letting go of the illusion of control. And in letting go, we actually come closer to life. We begin to appreciate things more deeply because we no longer take them for granted. Each breath, each moment becomes precious, not because it will last, but because it won't. This awareness doesn't lead to despair. It leads to gratitude. It softens us. It teaches us to love more freely, with open hands and a quiet heart. Detachment in Buddhism doesn't mean detaching from people or emotions. It means letting go of the need to possess, control, or define others based on our expectations. This is especially important in relationships, where attachment often masquerades as love. We cling to others out of fear of loss, demand validation, or expect them to make us whole. But the Buddha taught that true love is spacious. It thrives not in ownership, but in freedom. Compassionate detachment allows us to love deeply without clinging. It's not cold or distant, it's wise and kind. It recognizes the impermanence of all things, including relationships, and honors the other person's path without needing to shape it. You stop trying to change or fix people, and instead offer presence, understanding, and acceptance. You learn to hold space for others, rather than hold on to them. This kind of love is liberating. It frees both people to grow, to change, to be who they are without the weight of conditions. When you detach with compassion, you no longer fear endings, because you're not trying to force permanence. You savor connection while it's there and let it go when it's time, without bitterness, without regret. In this way, detachment strengthens relationships rather than weakens them. It removes the strain of unrealistic expectations and creates room for genuine connection. When we let go of grasping, we discover that love doesn't diminish, it expands. It becomes less about what we get, and more about how we show up, with presence, patience, and a heart that knows how to let be. To live with detachment is to walk through the world with clarity, kindness, and ease. It doesn't require robes or monasteries or renouncing all worldly things. What it does require is awareness, a commitment to seeing clearly, feeling deeply, and letting go gracefully. Detachment in daily life is less about what you give up and more about how you hold what you have. You can practice detachment while doing everyday tasks. Notice when you're grasping for a specific outcome, at work, in conversations, or in your ambitions. Ask yourself, can I give my best without being tied to the result? This shift transforms pressure into presence. You still care, but your peace no longer depends on how things turn out. You can practice detachment in moments of tension, when someone disagrees with you, when plans fall apart, when you don't get what you want. Rather than reacting with frustration, pause. Observe. Soften. This is where real strength lies, in the ability to remain steady in the face of uncertainty. Daily detachment also means decluttering the mind. Watch your thoughts come and go without attaching to every judgment or story. This mental spaciousness reduces anxiety and frees up energy for what really matters: connection, creativity, compassion. In time, detachment becomes a way of being, not distant, but deeply present. You begin to live with open hands, a quiet mind, and a heart that no longer needs to grasp. And from this space, joy arises, not the kind that depends on having, but the kind that comes from being. As we come to the end of this journey through Buddhist detachment, let's take a moment to simply breathe. Let go of needing to remember it all. Let go of needing to master it right away. These teachings are not about perfection, they're about practice. Gentle, steady practice. You are not expected to become detached overnight. You are only invited to begin noticing where you cling, where you resist, where you grasp for control. And in that noticing, a quiet transformation begins. Detachment is not the erasure of feeling, it's the foundation of inner peace. It allows us to meet life as it is, not as we wish it to be. It teaches us to hold joy without fear, sorrow without drowning, and love without attachment. This path is not one of disconnection but of deep, radiant connection, to ourselves, to others, to the present moment. Every breath is a chance to let go. Every experience, pleasant or painful, is a teacher. And every step taken in awareness is a step toward freedom. So, if you take anything with you, let it be this: you don't need to chase peace. You only need to stop clinging to what's not real. And in that soft, courageous release, you'll discover that peace was always waiting, right here, in the stillness behind the noise. Rest easy. Walk gently. Let go and be free.